aspirants, a very good day to all of you. This is Vilasini from Simply Current Affairs and welcome back to another day of the Daily Answer Writing Challenge. So today we will be decoding day 5 of Daily Answer Writing. Guna sir had already previously explained about this particular topic, that is the UDAN scheme and the need for regional connectivity. So today what we will do is, for the agenda, we will first understand the structure of how we should go about approaching this answer, right? The individual contents, right? What needs to be written under this, where the value addition needs to be done, and we will also go on to look at one of the best answers for the day, and then we will take a look at the topic of discussion for today. So I hope the structure is clear to all of you. So yes, without further delay, let's straight away get into the question of discussion for today. So the question is, what is the need? What is the need for expanding the regional air connectivity in India? In this context, discuss the government's UDAN scheme and its achievements, right? So now, as you all can see, this question is a 250 words and a 15-mark question. It was a PYQ from the year 2024. So now, if we talk about the number of parts, right? On paper, it looks like there are two parts, meaning the first part talks about the need and the second part talks about UDAN in general. But now, if you further break it down, right, the first part talks about in general what is the need for regional connectivity, right? Then they're asking us to first discuss about UDAN scheme. So here we need to talk about the components of UDAN scheme, right? What was its objective, right? Why was it being brought about, right? Some salient features, and they've also specifically asked about the achievements. So the need for regional connectivity, about UDAN scheme in general, and the achievements of this particular scheme. Right? So this is the demand. So now this entire answer should be written by you in 250 words. That is, it's a 15-marker question, right? So you'll have 3 sides of the page that you will have to write. So now, as you all know, when we start writing an answer, there are a few fundamental things we need to keep in mind, right? And that is IBC, right? So what is IBC? Very simply put, I for your introduction, B for the body of your answer, and C over here stands for the conclusion, right? So what you need to keep in mind is, for every answer you write, the intro and the conclusion need to have equal amount of value addition as much as the body does, right? So many a times, one common mistake many of us tend to do is, right, we keep the intro and the conclusion very simple. So please have enough value in the intro and the conclusion as well. When I talk about value addition, it could be anything. For example, you could give in a definition, right? Second, you could add statistics. Third, you can quote examples, right? You can quote famous reports, right? Depending upon the question, the subject of the matter also varies. Now, in the context of polity, judgments can be quoted. So it depends from topic to topic and subject to subject, right? But remember, both your intro and your conclusion need to have substantial value, right? So the best thing over here that you can also keep in mind is, if we talk about the word limit, right? If you keep your intro anywhere between 25 to 30 words and your conclusion anywhere between 25 to 30 words, the rest can be used for your body, right? So in this way, you can demarcate the amount of words that you have to use for every part of the question, right? So this is in general with regard to the structure, right? So now, on the first part of the question, they are asking you the need for regional connectivity, and in this context, the government's UDAN scheme and its achievement. So if I were you and if I had to write an intro for this particular question, I would write an introduction which in general talks about what regional connectivity is and how UDAN is complementing this. So in this way, you are clubbing both the parts of the question and putting it together in a sandwiched format in the introduction, right? So why regional connectivity, and what is regional connectivity, and how UDAN is helping this. So this should probably be there in your introduction. So you can keep a mind of this for your intro. Now straight away, if we talk about the body, right, please understand, a structure to your answer is important, and a better structure would only be possible if you have relevant subheadings, relevant pointers, underlining the important key terms, and quoting relevant examples as much as possible. So now over here, once the intro is done, so for the intro, we decided that one, we would talk about regional connectivity in general. and we would add a short note on how Udan is making this possible. That's it, right? Within 25 to 30 words. Now let's move forward to the body. So like I said, a structure for your body is also required. You will have subheadings, you will have pointers, right? And you will expand on these pointers. You will highlight key terms, you will underline key terms, and you will also do enough value addition in the form of statistics. So now in this context, right, just talking about the structure for this particular question, need for expanding regional connectivity, right? So this will be the first part. So over here, talking about the need for expanding regional connectivity, have say 3 to 4 pointers maximum. 3 to 4 pointers maximum, and expand on each of these pointers. Fine. So now in this context, right, we will also look at what needs to be filled for this answer. I'm just talking to you about the skeletal framework, and then we will look at what has to be written in detail. So nothing to worry. So now here, once I have done with the need, right, I'll move on to the next part, which talks about Udan scheme and its achievements. So now in this context, right, I'll probably add the next heading, and this heading would be on, right, would be on Udan scheme, right? And I will write like say 3 points about the Udan scheme. The Udan scheme was launched for regional connectivity, right? And some of its components like viability gap funding, right? Setting a price on the cap limit, all these things can be written over here. Just few features, salient features can be added over here. Next, it specifically talks about the achievements. So whatever statistics you know in this context, right? For example, the recent statistics with regard to how far this scheme has progressed, right? How many cities have been connected through this scheme, all this you can add over here. Now, some of you might also think that should we add limitations? This might be a question that you guys might have, because this happens to be a 15-mark question. I would say to enhance the quality of your answer, maybe in the form of a single paragraph, right? You can say that while Udan scheme is facilitating all of this, it does suffer from certain limitations, and what those limitations are can be highlighted by you. And once this part of the body is done, we will straight away move on to the conclusion, right? So intro, body, and then conclusion. Right. So now in the conclusion, right, what you should always keep in mind is UPSC likes what is called as optimistic conclusions, right? So when I say optimistic conclusions, please understand conclusions with a positive outlook, conclusions with solutions, conclusions with recommendations, and conclusions probably with a positive way forward. That is what is expected. So in this context, you can talk about how Udan would help in facilitating major infrastructure growth and development. You can talk about how this scheme is making connectivity possible, right? You can talk about many aspects, right? But a positive outlook is what is required. Fine. So in this context, right, keep this in mind. So overall, this is the required demand, and we have elaborated on the structure and the skeletal framework, right? So yes, as it is, this topic has been covered. I'm just going to quickly run through what needs to be given in this context. Fine. Okay, so now moving forward, let's look at the model answer, guys. So now in this context, right, let's straight away start with this. What is the need for expanding regional air connectivity in India? In this context, discuss the government's Udan scheme and its achievements, right? 250 words, 15 marks, and a 2024 PYQ. So keeping the intro short within a word limit of 25 to 30 words, like I said, talk about regional connectivity in general and mention how Udan is complementing this. So look at the introduction over here. What is regional connectivity has been defined, right? So it is basically to ensure that affordable and accessible transport is there, right? Air transport is there, especially that which links your tier 2 and your tier 3 cities, right? So that you can write in the intro. Now talk about how Udan facilitates this, right? That you can maybe mention over here. So now in this context, a statistic has been added, and it says that although India is the third largest domestic aviation market, right, air connectivity remains uneven. So to address this gap, schemes like Udan have been launched. This is one way to justify the importance of Udan. This also is another approach to write your introduction. So these are some pointers for your intro. Now let's move on to the body, right? So talking about the body, now we have 3 components over here. First is the need for regional connectivity. second is about Udan in general, and third is the achievements of Udan. So keeping in mind that there are three subtopics that we will have to elaborate in the body, right? Maximum 3 pointers for each. That itself will give you, will cover a decent amount of space, and you'll have enough time to write and justify those many points only. So let us not elaborate on too many points as well, so that unevenness is not there for each subtopic, because every subtopic needs to be justified relevantly and equally. Fine. So now in this context, let's first talk about the need for expanding regional air connectivity. Number one, yes, very simple. Now the idea is we need to boost investment, we need to boost trade, we need to boost passenger movement from one city to another. And yes, access to quick travel and affordable travel is something that everybody should be capable of getting, right? Nobody should feel deprived of it, right? So in this context, yes, it helps in leveraging the aviation's strong multiplier effect. So that also we need to keep in mind. Second, yes, if we talk about the social capital, if we talk about health, education, right, businesses, etc., for all this to be possible also, right, there is a social need as well. Next, if we talk about strategic need, say for example, there is a disaster, right? Or say for example, we need to promote medical evacuations for humanitarian relief, right? For movement of agricultural cargo because they are perishable. For all these reasons, it is very important for us to make our regional air connectivity systems very strong, right? So in this context, we have spoken about an economic angle, a social angle, and a strategic and development need. Fine. So this is one part. So guys, over here, I would just like to add upon this. So this is one framework which actually helped me when I used to write answers. So this framework is called as the SPELT approach. So one common problem that many of us usually face is we know the question, we know what the topic is, but when we have to write down an answer within a limited time, right, we struggle. Why? Because we are confused with regard to first, what points do we think about? Second, which points do I write down in my answer? Third, how do I organize these points in a structured manner? So this is one question we usually have. So to make this process easier and for us to think and articulate faster, that is also very important. So in this context, the SPELT approach would be useful. So anytime you feel you're stuck and you're thinking of points, right, for any answer that you write, see if these dimensions fit. For example, the S over here stands for social. The P over here stands for political. The E stands for economical. The L stands for legal. And your T over here stands for technological. Fine. So see if this pattern or if this framework fits anywhere. Fine. So now in this context itself, you will notice that there is a social angle, there is an economic angle which is mentioned in this answer, right? So wherever such an angle or dimension can fit, please do justify and please do quote. Okay. So next, let's talk about this. The question, the second part, right, within the body, we have spoken about the need for expanding regional air connectivity. Now we'll move on to the second part, which talks about Udan scheme in general, right? It says discuss about the government's Udan scheme. So now in this context, right, what is Udan scheme? That we all know. The idea is to promote regional air connectivity, right? So now how does it make it possible? Have three major pointers, right? So in this context, yes, viability gap funding has been mentioned. Fare caps has been mentioned, right? Especially many unserved airports are now going to be revived. That is also possible, especially in terrain, right, which so far has not been very accessible, and where there have been difficulties, there will also be focus on these regions. For example, the northeastern parts of India, right, and remote regions. So these are some core pointers that you can mention under this particular heading. Now that this is done, let's move forward to the next part, which says achievements. So this is where you need to know about the scheme in detail, and you also need to be updated with current affairs, because only then you'll be able to justify the achievements. So keeping in mind the achievements, right, some major achievements have been given over here. If you're able to justify with three major points, more than enough. So now in this context, please look at this. 600 Udan routes have been operationalized, right, connecting 93 unserved, unreserved airports. So this is one. Second is the different states and union territories, right, have been connected. And next, if you see new airlines, right, supporting new airlines and new players have come into the picture. right? So tourism has been promoted. All these are some points that you can write under achievements. So guys, let me tell you this. Now in the examination, when you are faced with questions like this, now let me tell you, there is a difference between writing an answer and writing a perfect answer, right? So you will have 20 questions, correct? Now writing perfect answers for all of it is not possible, especially when questions like this come, right? You will know why regional connectivity is important. You will also be able to justify what UDAN is and its components. But on the other hand, when achievements are being asked, this requires relevant current affairs knowledge for you to write your answer really well. But sometimes it is possible that because we're human also, we may not remember the exact statistics. So in this case, what should I do? The answer is you should learn to manage. You should learn to manage and you should make the best use of the points that you have. For example, you can write general points like many states and union territories have been connected through this scheme in comparison to the past. Next, you can say that many new routes have got operationalized. You can say many new airlines and players have entered into this sector. Tourism generation has been possible, right? So here the tourism potential of India has been boosted. These are generic points, but they do have substantial value. And even without statistics, sometimes it is okay to write them because that is the only way in which you can manage. So if you know the statistics, well and good. Even if you don't know, you should be smart enough to manage. That is all I'm trying to tell you. Okay. So now that this is done, right, as I told you earlier, because this question does not test limitations in specific, but it is okay if we quote limitations, right? So just in a single line, right, you can say that although the UDAN scheme has made regional air connectivity possible, it still suffers from the following. And you can say, for example, infrastructure development delays are there, funding shortages are there, right? And similarly, if you see there is low passenger demand, all this can be mentioned in just 1 to 2 lines. And now with this, if you talk about the conclusion, right, you can in general say, like I said, optimistic conclusions are required. Give your suggestions, give a positive way forward, and you can say that addressing the problems that the UDAN scheme is currently facing needs to be negated to ensure that regional connectivity is enhanced, is made much more in an enhanced manner. So in this context, you can say that you can also add a mention about the modified UDAN scheme, which has been recently launched, right? Here, where there is an idea of developing 100 new airports, right? Especially developing the undereserved, regions, promoting it over here. So all this can be mentioned, right? And overall, the idea is to identify the existing gaps and why, if this is addressed, right, what might be the outcomes. So always ensure that your conclusions are very optimistic and are very positive looking and are solution oriented. So that is the overall demand for this, right? Okay. So now in this context, yes, we have tried understanding about this particular question where we have effectively decoded, right, what is UDAN scheme, right, the achievements, what needs to be mentioned in the context of the conclusion as well. So now let us move forward, guys. Fine. So in this context, this is an answer written by Abdullah. So now in this context, please take a look at her answer. Okay. So here, good job. You have started off with the introduction where you have highlighted important key terms. Your handwriting is legible, right? The word limit is also maintained. You have mentioned why regional air connectivity is crucial to India, right? And what does it basically tackle? Fine. And in this context, you have also spoken about how the potential of tier 2 and tier 3 cities can be unlocked. So this is a very good introduction. Now here, if you can link UDAN in the introduction and itself justify, both the parts of the question would get effectively addressed. This is one suggestion. Okay. So next, if we talk about the second part of the question, you have spoken about the need for expanding regional air connectivity. Fine. So your handwriting is legible. The words are clear, well appreciated. So now over here, the key terms have been boxed, which is also good. So balanced regional development is possible. Tourism and local trade can be promoted. Yes. So in this context, if you have statistics in mind, anything you're aware with or aware of, please do mention. That will add more value to the answer. If not, also this is great. Fine. Next, I've also mentioned about how traffic congestion is there and how decongestion can be facilitated, which is a very good value addition point. Good. And you have also mentioned about this role in promoting security and humanitarian relief and with regard to disaster management. This is also good. fine, and the boost to the economic growth in terms of promoting businesses and enhancing productivity, that also you have mentioned, which is great. Fine. So now in this context, you have mentioned that this is the reason why this particular scheme was being launched, right? And you have mentioned some core components of this scheme, right? For example, viability cap funding, the existence of a fair price cap, that has been highlighted, right? One more point you can mention in this context, right, with regard to the characteristics. Next over here, we have spoken about achievements. So you have mentioned some 3 major achievements with statistics, which is well appreciated, right? So with the current year's relevance, what have been the achievements so far? That you have quoted, the different regional routes have been mentioned. How much has it expanded from the past till now? That has also been justified. How many passengers are now able to travel, right, under this scheme? That has been highlighted, which is also good. Like I said, limitations, yes, you don't have to elaborate as separate points because that has not been separately tested in the question. So here, just in a single paragraph, 2-3 limitations can be highlighted, but other than that, you can expand on achievements if you're aware. Fine. And then conclude your answer. Now, in this context, you have mentioned the modified UDAN is vital and need to extend subsidies, maintenance fund. Okay. So there is just some error over here with regard to how the sentence formation needs to be done. Probably, I think you were trying to say the modified UDAN scheme is vital and there is a need to extend subsidies, promote, ensure there is a greater availability of funds and upgrade the existing infrastructure systems to ensure that this scheme is able to sustain in a longer run and serve a better purpose. So this alone has to be rephrased a bit, but apart from that, great answer and good going. Fine. So guys, in the Telegram channel, this answer will be posted as well as some other important pointers which you have to address would also be mentioned, right? So next what we will do is we will move on to the topic of discussion for today. And what we would be doing is we would be looking at the question for your day 6. Now this is a question from environment. Okay, so guys, look at this question. Examine the reasons for rising incidence of man-wildlife conflict. Suggest some possible measures to tackle this problem of modern age, right? 250 words, so it is a 15-mark question and it is a PYQ from the year 2019, right? So in this context, first step, if we have to identify the topic and the subtopic, number 1, under your environment, you have a chapter called as biodiversity. So under biodiversity, specifically with regard to causes for biodiversity laws, right? So causes for loss of biodiversity or biodiversity laws is the subtopic where this question specifically features from, right? So this much clarity we all have, right? So now let us expand on this and let us first talk about man-wildlife conflict in general so that these notes would help you write a good answer. Okay, so guys, moving forward, let's talk about this. So number 1, if we have to talk about man-wildlife conflict. In very simple terms, it is nothing but an interaction between man and animal, right, where the net effect of this interaction is negative. An interaction between man and animal where the net effect of this interaction is negative. This is called as man-wildlife conflict or human-wildlife conflict, right, in very simple terms. So now we have been coming across multiple news articles which talks about elephants getting electrocuted, right? Elephants rampage, right? They enter into places where human settlements are there, right? Of leopards, common leopards especially entering into villages, right? Of recent deaths of many animals that villagers rear. This also we are coming across. So all this tells us one simple thing, that in recent times, the instances of man-wildlife conflict are increasing. So why is it happening? See, think about this. Way back then, right, there was a lot of greenery, there was a lot of forests, right? And we could also say that the boundary lines between forests as well as human settlements were to some extent demarcated. Fine. Now, in recent times, what is happening is we have expansion of human settlements, right? So, human settlements are expanding. You have infrastructure projects, you have agriculture which is expanding, you have conversion of forest lands for non-forest purpose. So now when this expansion is taking place, what is happening is the boundary line between the forest and the human settlement is actually becoming blurred, and they have started overlapping. So this makes it confusing even for the animals, right? So in recent times, these animals are forced to move out of the forest that they are living, and they are entering into regions where humans are living, and this is causing what is called as man-wildlife conflict, right? So in very simple terms, this is just a background of why man-wildlife conflict is taking place. So before we understand about man-wildlife conflict in detail, I want to introduce you guys to a very interesting term. It's called evil quadrate. So guys, the word evil means bad, right? And quadrate refers to 4. So here please understand, this was a term which was coined by a person by the name Jared Diamond. Okay, and he says evil quadrate summarizes the 4 major causes for biodiversity loss. And he says, talking about the 4 major causes, the first one is what you call habitat loss and fragmentation. The second one is called overexploitation. The third one is called alien species invasion. And the fourth one is called as co-extinction. Now the hero of our discussion today is going to be this habitat loss and fragmentation. Now, for majority of the species that you read, one of the major reasons for the decline in population of that particular species is going to majorly be habitat loss and fragmentation. Fine. So let's talk about this. Habitat. It is a place where an animal lives, correct? So this animal roams around over here, consumes water over here, finds potential mates over here. This is technically the home of the animal. Now, in recent times, what is happening? Within this animal's habitat, right, the existing lands are getting fragmented. How? Village settlements are expanding, right? Railway lines are being laid. Mining projects are being conducted. So the existing roaming space that the animal has more or less got fragmented, right? So this is the available space. So now if at all the animal needs food, the animal needs resources, it is forced to move out of this region into neighboring regions. And these regions are nothing but places where human settlements are there. So now habitat loss and fragmentation of existing habitat is now the major reason for rising instances of man-wildlife conflict, right? So I hope this is clear to all of you. Number 1, right? So now let's just quickly take a look at some images. So guys, look at this image. An elephant chasing a young man, right? So I think all of us will pray that we never in our life land up in a situation like this. Yes or no? Right? So yes, instances like this are occurring and are bound to occur if we do not take adequate steps. Right? So now in this context, let's straight away talk about this. So before I continue, I want to tell you guys this. With regard to questions which come in your GS paper 3, especially in the context of environment, guys, you have questions of 2 types, right? One is your direct questions and one is statement based, which are your indirect questions. Now, for your direct questions, there is a very clear directive, right? What the demand of the question is very clearly given. For example, in this particular question, it was clearly given, right? They have said that man-wildlife conflict is recently increasing. Why? And they are asking some measures. It is directly given. Now, there will also be statement-based questions where there might not be a very clear directive, but we will have to arrive at a directive. That is also possible. But let me tell you this. For majority of the questions which come in your GS paper 3, they primarily revolve around 3 major core areas. Fine. So, the number 1 is called as your causes. Causes in some cases can also be factors depending upon the question. Now, the second part is with regard to your impacts, right? Impacts can also be consequences, right? And it can also be effects. Fine. Now, the third case is that of measures. Fine. So, when I talk about measures, I'm talking about national and international measures. The measures, or it can be suggestions, or it can be way forward. Fine. So majority of the questions, you please take a look and you see, you will notice that they primarily revolve around these 3 dimensions. Your causes or your factors, your impacts, consequences and effects, and your measures, suggestions or way forward. This will be the framework. Fine. So now, even if you take a look at this particular question, guys, What does the question say? Reasons for rising incidence of man-wildlife conflict. Reasons. Suggest some possible measures to tackle this problem of modern age. So now if we take a look at this over here, you'll clearly understand reasons are nothing but causes, right? Causes and measures. So these two dimensions have got tested in this particular question, right? So even if you make notes in this manner, it will be very useful for you because you will just have to reciprocate the points in your answer sheet when the question comes. So this much you first please keep in mind. Now let's talk about man-wildlife conflict in general, right? I'll give you some pointers here and there just for you to understand what you should be writing under causes, what you should be writing under effects, and some unique solutions also we will discuss. Okay, so now if we talk about causes, the first cause I already told you, that is with regard to habitat loss, right? Second, think about this, wherever there is a forested region, right? If you have infrastructure projects like roadways and railways cutting through the forest, right? That is also causing some great deal of damage, right? And many a times if you see large amount of mining operations are taking place. Now this mining operations also reduces the roaming space of animals, and when there is a man's interference over there, right, animals don't feel very safe, right? And in recent times, climate change is also becoming a major stress factor. Why? Because when climate change takes place, right, availability of prey reduces, water resources decline, and all these are also some factors which push the animal. Fine. So in this case, climate change is also becoming a problem. And also very interestingly, many people say it is also to do with disposal of carcasses. The word carcass over here refers to the dead body of animals. Imagine guys, there is a village and adjacent to this village there is a forest. Now usually in this village what people would do is when an animal dies, right, on the outskirts, they would go and they would dispose the animal's body. Now please understand this is in very close vicinity to the forest. So for the smell the animal might come, right? So these are some major causes. Now let's quickly talk about effects. Now, if we talk about the core major impacts or effects, number one, all of us would agree there is a damage to life and there is also a damage to property, right? That is highly possible. Okay. Now, third, if you see when instances of man-wildlife conflict keep increasing, right, the government's expenditure also increases, meaning more measures and more protocols need to be put in place to ensure that such instances don't occur, right? Fourth, if you see in regions where agricultural crops are there, fine. So the agricultural crop damage will also take place, right? So that is also highly possible. And yes, people also say that this may also lead to the spread of new diseases, right? So please think about this. The world is still not over COVID-19 and we are not ready for another pandemic, right? So when the closeness between animals and humans increase, it is possible for new diseases to also spread. So these are some effects. Now, if we have to talk about measures, right? And to talk about measures, let's talk about this. Guys, we can have two types of solutions to this. One is man-made and the other one is called NBS, nature-based solutions. In very simple terms, the word nature-based solution is instead of relying on man-made solutions to address today's problems, why not use nature as a solution to address the same? Let me give you some examples. Now, in places where man-wildlife conflict is common, right, especially to protect agricultural fields or lands, right, you have high voltage power lines, fences which are being laid. Now, what is the problem over here? Electrocution of animals takes place. Now, this is a man-made intervention. Now, we can also have nature as a solution for this. So, instead of using such fences, we can rely on what is called as biofences, which are made out of materials like bamboo, which are much more sturdy, which can be used. Second is people say use certain plants, right, which may not be liked as an animal as a protection cover. For example, if we talk about lemongrass, the smell of lemongrass is disliked by elephants. Lemongrass is an elephant repellent. So for a small farmer trying to protect his agricultural field, cultivation of lemongrass plants could also come handy, right? This is also one. The third is a very interesting strategy which was brought about by the Northeastern Frontier Railways, and this was called as Plan B. Fine. And the strategy was so good that in fact it even won the Best Innovation Award. The idea was very simple. Wherever there were railway lines, right, when elephants used to try crossing them, the elephants used to get hit, right? And this would cause a great deal of damage to the life of the elephant as well, and would also put people's life in the trains under threat. So now what happened was, the Northeastern Frontier Railways came up with a strategy where they started installing speakers, and these speakers would basically produce the buzz sound of bees. The buzz sound of bees. Now, the idea was very simple, right? The buzz sound of bees was not majorly liked by elephants. So, when such speakers were installed, it served as a natural deterrent where the elephants would not cross. While in many cases this has also failed, but in majority of the cases this has actually worked. Keeping this in mind, the Northeastern Frontier Railways was also given a Best Innovation Award, right? So these are some examples of nature-based solutions. Apart from this, general solutions also include, right, protecting forest resources, watching out for poachers, right, the role of the forest guards in this context, community awareness, spreading education and awareness to the local communities, right? So all this could come vital in a long run to ensure that such instances of man-wildlife conflict are effectively curtailed, right? So over here, we have overall discussed what needs to be written in the context of this particular answer. So now take a look at the question. Examine the reasons for rising incidents of man-wildlife conflict and suggest some possible measures to tackle this problem of modern age. So friends, in this context, what I would request all of you is to write down this answer, right, in the format that we have discussed, right? Send these answers before 9 a.m. sharp, right? And also please send them in PDF format, right? So keep this in mind. Thank you, and keep actively participating in the daily answer writing initiative.